Hi everybody, it's Lyn from Lyn's Crafts. I've got another project I want to share with you all. This one was also requested. It's been a while. Sometimes it does take me a while to get around to requests. So I've got, this is actually a bit of souffle clay, and it looks like it's probably a bit of black mixed with a little silver. For kind of a gunmetal look. It just happened to be something I had in my drawer. This is some Mega Flakes. This one happens to be chocolate box, but the color doesn't really matter. It would work just as well with silver leaf, gold leaf, copper leaf, anything like that. This is just what I pulled out of my drawer. Alright, then I've got a little glass stone. This one in particular is one of the flat stones. I'll put a link in the description box below for where these came from. Alright, and then I've got a cutter, and this cutter is just the one that fits the stone. Alright, that just happened to be my luck. Alright, so I'm going to put some gold flakes on this clay first thing. Find my little... Alright, when I apply gold leafing, or faux gold leafing, which this is, I have a really soft brush. This is the same one I use for mica powders. Now, really and truly, I would rather use just some Primo, but this is going to work alright, I hope. Only because this souffle clay isn't quite as sticky. Alright, you don't necessarily have to worry about covering the whole surface. I love these Mega Flakes because you do get some larger flakes in some of the jars. Some of them you'll get a whole bunch of tiny flakes. Alright, just another piece or two more. Alright. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is to cut a circle to go behind that glass stone. Alright, now this one right here we're not going to do anything to other than put it behind the glass. Alright, something like that. Now on this other bit, I'm going to run it through the pasta machine so that it will crackle on the surface. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Alright, now here it is. And I'm going to cut some actually cut some volcanoes. I know that sounds strange, but I'm actually going to cut a couple of layers. Because I want it to kind of have a two-layered effect. Alright, I've cut a couple of volcano shapes. Now I'm going to take this color shaper, and I really like the color shaper because of the silicone tip. It's great for sculpting when you're trying to sculpt something flat and you don't want harsh lines. So I'm just going to sculpt some ridges and stuff and try not to lose the stone. Trying to smooth down the edges a bit so they're not so sharp. Alright, and as you can see, it does kind of remove some of the gold leafing, but it really won't matter on the final piece. Right, now with the remainder of this clay that I cut away, it's the part that doesn't really have a lot of gold leafing on it. I'm just going to roll it into a snake and then make a rope out of half of it, or part of it. Okay, just another handy tip. When you're rolling a snake, hold it at one end and roll it out with the other. I mean, on the other, with your other hand. Whatever I'm trying to say. You'll get a much more even roll. If you can see it's getting thin in one of the spots, hold your hand over that spot. And continue to roll it out. You may need to flip it around at some point to work on the other end. Alright, so I want a pretty thick snake to go around the stone on the bottom. got my little volcanoes in the way. Alright, I'm not going to glue the stone down or anything. The glass stone. And if you don't have a cutter the right size, or if you don't own any cutters, you can just trim around the stone with your craft knife. Alright, one of the things I'm always telling you is when you're cutting a snake to go around a stone, cut the end at a bevel. And then when you bring the snake around, cut it at the reverse bevel. Then you'll get a nice finished transition. Alright, as you can see, the snake is a little bigger around than the stone, but that's okay. Alright, now I'm going to continue to thin out the snake a bit. Alright, then I'm going to double it over. Like I said before, the souffle clay is not my favorite. Don't like how it doesn't want to stick to itself. That to me is a deal breaker. Alright, and then just slowly start to twist. You want to go slowly because the souffle clay especially has a drier feel, and it will tend to crack more. Alright. I just gave it a bit of a roll to flatten down the rope a bit. As you can see, it broke off in my hand. Alright. So now we're going to start to slowly pull just a bit to lengthen it. And I'm still twisting while I'm pulling. You want to make it long enough to go around the stone. Almost there. Alright. Now when you've made a rope, it's a lot easier to remember to cut the bevel. You just want to cut it to match the twist of the rope. Alright. And I do tend to line up where the snake meets, where the rope meets. Just because if you're gonna have one connection, you might as well have two. Alright. This souffle clay was not the best choice. But luckily it will work in the end. Alright, just using a light touch, I'm pressing it down to the snake at the bottom and inward towards the stone. I want it to hug that stone so it will stay in place. Alright, let me look at it. It's a bit off center. Alright, there we go. Now I'm going to add the volcanoes. Now on this step, I will add just a touch of this extra thick bacon bond. And that's what I mean by a touch. Literally just a tiny bit. Alright, here it is out of the oven, and I'm just applying a bit of glaze. This is some Varathane gloss glaze, but whatever water-based glaze you have will work. It doesn't necessarily need to be gloss, it just happens to be what I grabbed. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to be adding some antiquing. And if this was a lighter clay, I would be adding it so that the antiquing didn't stick to the clay so bad. Even though this is black, that's still why I'm doing it. Alright. Doesn't take but just a minute to dry. It was really a thin coat. So I'm just going to give it a minute to dry, and then I'm going to put on some black. Okay, I've just put the tiniest bit of black out on my glass. Give it a squirt of water to thin it down some. Now, of course, you won't really be able to see it on the rope or anything, but it will stay in the crevices and recesses on the volcano. Alright, I'll give that just a minute. And you can go back and either wipe away, or I've really thinned it down enough that that won't be necessary. Alright. Okay, here it is. I went over the outside of the bezel with a little bit of the Iced Espresso Metallic Luster by Deco Art. I want to apologize. This video has had so many stops and starts. I realize y'all didn't see that, but I really barely got it finished. It is quite a bit different than the original. But if you go back and look at the original, you'll see that. So I'll try to remember to put a still image of both at the end so you can see the difference. Alright. That is it for now. Please like, share, and subscribe. There also are links to my Facebook, my Etsy shop, and probably a few others as well down below the video. So you can always look me up there. Bye for now.